video 2 is going to be, the topic here for video 2 is going to be the coordinate plane. Okay, so a coordinate plane is a vertical and a horizontal axis. So in the first section we talked about just a horizontal axis, just a horizontal line. Coordinate plane now is going to be a vertical line. Okay, it's going to be a vertical line and a horizontal line. Each of them with some hash marks on it. So draw this on your paper. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine, but you know, we want it to be kind of close. Okay? So, kind of the key parts here. The horizontal axis, okay, so the one that goes side to side, is what we call the x-axis. Okay, the vertical axis, the one that's up and down, is what we call the y-axis. Okay, so that's the x-axis. That's the y-axis. Okay, the center point, the middle, we call that the origin. Okay, we call that the origin. And these are all terms that you should have filled out in your terms page when you were filling it out. Okay. So, a couple things. We need to be able to identify points on the plane. So, for example, if I look at, say I put a dot, I'll just put a dot here. We'll call that A. And we'll put a dot here. We'll call that B. Okay? And I want to, this is the first example here, we want to name the name, or we want to name each point. Okay? So what's the name for A? So to name these points, we're going to use what we call a coordinate point. And a coordinate point is represented by parentheses with an x value and a y value inside of a set of parentheses. And the x and the y value basically will tell you the location of the point. Okay? So the way we identify here, so if we're looking at A, we start out with a parenthesis. Okay? And then what we want to do is we want to figure out what's the x value of my coordinate point. Well, to get the x value, what I'm going to do is I'm going to count along my x-axis until I get right directly below that point. So we count over 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? We count over 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 points. There's 4 marks until I get to my point. That means my x coordinate is going to be a 4. Okay? And then we count up from there until we get to the point. So we're going to go up just 1 until we get to the level of the point. So that means that my y coordinate is just 1. Okay? So x is always left or right. Y is always up or down. Okay? X is left or right. Y is always up or down. Okay? Depending on which direction we're going. All right, so that's A. What about B? What if I wanted to name B? Okay, so now I'm going to go to the left. I need to count over. We'll count over here to the left. 1, 2. Now, when we go to the left, though, remember we talked about this when we were looking at the number line. Okay, where these two things cross, the origin is 0, 0. So that's my 0 point. So if I'm moving to the left of 0, if you remember back to number line video 1, we talked about how those numbers are negative. So if I go over 2 to the left, that means that's going to be negative 2. Okay? Same thing would be happen if I counted down. Down is negative numbers. Okay? Left is negative, down is negative. In this case, to get up to B, though, I'm going to go up. I want to count. I'm going to go up. Okay, so from here, I want to count up until I get to that point. So if I look over here, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 lines till I get to the top. So what that means is that my y coordinate then would be 5. So that's -2 up 5. Okay? So that's how the coordinate plane works. Now, we also need to be able to identify if I give you some points. So we'll call example 2. Okay? Graph each point. Okay, we'll do these in green, so we haven't used green yet. So if I gave you the point -3, -6, we want to graph that over here on our number line, or on our coordinate plane. Okay? So we go, the x value tells us left or right, so it's a -3. Is that going to be left or right of 0? -3 would be left of 0. Okay? So we're going to go to the left 3. Left 3. 1, 2, 3. That puts me here. And then my y value says -6. Remember, y is your up or down. So is -6 going to take me up, or is -6 going to take me down? -6 is going to be down. Good. So I'm going to count over 3. 1, 2, 3. And then from that point, I'm going to go down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my point C would be right there. Okay, my point C would be right there. Okay, what if we did, let's see, for D, let's go 7, -4. 7, -4 for D. Okay, same process. Always start with your x value first. Remember, it's x is the first number, y is the second number. So this x tells me to go 7. What kind of a 7 is it? Is it positive or negative? It's a positive 7, which means I'm going 7 to the right. So count over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. From there, am I going up or down? -4 tells you I'm going down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. My point D will be right there. Okay? So that's how part of what we're going to talk about here with our coordinate plane. The other concept that we want to talk about here is what we call quadrants. So let's go down here and let's make up a new coordinate plane. Let's leave us some space here. So let's make a new coordinate plane. We want to talk about quadrants. Okay? So we're going to make ourselves a new coordinate plane. 2 lines across. Let's put some hash marks on it. Put some hash marks on it. Okay, draw yourself a coordinate plane. Now, what we want to talk about is quadrants. Quadrants. Okay, I'll give you a second here to make sure you're getting that copied down and writing down the word quadrants. Okay, there are 4 quadrants in our coordinate plane. Okay, we've got 4 quadrants in our coordinate plane. The first quadrant is the upper right-hand corner. So that's quadrant 1. We use Roman numerals. For some reason, we always use Roman numerals to identify our quadrants. Okay, so that would be quadrant 1. And then we go around in a circle from quadrant 1, and then we identify it in that kind of a direction. So this would be 2, and then this is 3, and then this is 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so on the homework, what they're going to say is, hey, here's a point. What quadrant is this point in? Okay, what quadrant is this point in? So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to put the point on the graph. So draw yourself a graph, put your point on it, and then identify which quadrant it is. So for example, if I said, let's make this example 3, which quadrant, abbreviated quadrant, is, let's say -3, 4. What quadrant is -3, 4 in? That's the question. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is take that point, and we want to put that point on our graph. Okay, put that point on our graph. So, -3, 4 tells you what? First number is your x, left or right. -3 tells you I'm going left, 1, 2, 3. The 4 tells me I'm going up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Means my point's going to be right there. That's going to be in quadrant 2. Quadrant 2. Okay? Now, the only time we don't identify as being a quadrant is if a point lands on one of the lines. So if I had the point like 5, 0, and I was going to graph that point, okay, 5, 0 would tell me I'm going to the right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0 tells me I'm not going anywhere up or down. So my point is actually going to end up right there on the axis. If that's the case, then we say that's not in a quadrant. Okay, so if your point ends up on one of the axes, then that's not actually going to be in a quadrant. Okay, there you go, coordinate plane. Make sure you do your homework. Make sure you keep taking the notes. Good luck.